Great. And then, is it done yet? Yes. Good morning, everyone. Yes, Jean-Charles Leclerc, Total Energy. Good morning. I will present a paper we developed for methodology with Claude Fauconnet. It's in the room, the author of Sous l'essence locale, that is semantic framework solution for Total Energy semantic framework. I'm in charge of developing. Yves Keraron from Isadeus, that is supporting this ambition, and my colleague from the data governance, Grégory Tétart. So the long title is use of ontology to structure and manage digital technical data in industrial assets, and to share with you some preliminary results and outcomes to exchange on the perspective. So in huge companies such Total Energy, we have the ambition and we want to debottleneck the way to share our information internally and externally between people and with our counterpart, and to make it so that all of requirements will be more and more automatically verified by our machine and by the machine of our supply chain partners. Today, the world of information in a big company are driven by a lot of information system, a lot of editor solution, and the world is puzzled. The world is siloed. And we have a challenge to face and to solve, where we shall work together in a non-competitive way because of the complexity we have to manage without any simplification, because we require to be precise with the process and to translate, in fact, the data, the information, into shareable knowledge. This is the purpose of this presentation. We want to do this all along the life cycle with the several stakeholders speaking the same language, but not only, with the ability to share, in fact, the same way to pass from data, I would say, historical document centric approach to data-centric stage, to a model-centric way of working that will be more and more standardized and common, and finally, to be able to share knowledge together all along the life cycle, because we believe that what we have to focus on is to check all together that we have the same understanding of the quality of the things evolving with time, regarding the discipline, the métier, the collaborator, point of view and perspective, because we are all speaking about the same terms. We are all speaking about the well across the company and across several perspectives from the end user point of view, in example. But we have our own metadata, we have our own system, we have our own tools. And so we have to break, in fact, the silo. The silo, the rigidity, we discussed during the previous presentation about NBSE perspective, where we have to reach a level of common understanding and flexibility. It's linked also with a shift from a relational database to something more flexible and something with richer semantic expressivity. We want to take more attention, not on the taxonomy of the class of the things, but of the meanings of the relation on the things from their origin, from their genesis, and the why of their relationship with other terms and with other nodes. And we believe that the knowledge graph associated with semantic technology and standard from W3C structure are very convenient if we combine this with formal top-level ontology, and this is the purpose of this presentation. So from a thesaurus perspective, you've got, I would say, flat word of taxonomy, it's dictionary, essentially. It brings a lot of value regarding the way to manage polylinguism, etc., and we enrich progressively additional reference glossary. But we have to combine this with internal ABOX instances to develop some corresponding standard named individual, and then classes that shall be orchestrated and that shall be organized through a common way to structure the information. This is a sample from an inflator. You want to go to the camping, it's an activity. So go to camping is a subclass of activity. After this, you want to have an inflator. So you've got in the market several types of inflator and several types of category of inflator. This introduces the level of the T-box, the functional aspect. And we discuss about golden shelf. We are all dreaming on to publish and to share and to reinforce all together by feedback and feedback loop until necessary as per the process of standardization. What are our commons, but also our common typical, and what does this mean? To do this, we manage, in fact, between the ABOX and T-box, some split between some instances that are shared with the market, in example, the model type that shall answer, in fact, to the requirements that shall be understood, split, and we shall save time also to be understood with your partner and to provide and to unrisk, in fact, the fact to not provide a tag in time. This is the core mechanism, and we'll have a demo in the next session, but that's a big picture. Between a formal ontology, we are sourcing all our methodology following the axiom of the part 14 of 15 and 26. That is at draft level parameter. So I've got the luck to share with partners as an observer board of PCA the progressive development and the work that is carried on by Ariel Paller from UIO, Sirius, Equinor, and PCA team. And there is a preliminary draft of the part 14 that has been preliminarily published before the step of the official publication of the standard. It takes time to publish a standard, 2 to 4 years. It's expected by mid-end of 2024, and we believe we will keep this deadline. And from the timing, you are all welcome to test it, to comment, and to start the loop as per the publication. That will be a progressive step, and it's a journey, a transition. It's from A point to B, and to be together, in fact, because we believe on the collective approach to share, in fact, some reference data, some reference structure, and reference model. And the good sample is also how to provide, in fact, a golden reference layer to publish and to endorse progressively, thanks to the feedback loop, or typical. The mechanism of the taxonomy we will develop and showcase during the demo is based so on the axiom of the part 14 between the class and the subclass. You've got some properties to manage the relationship between those classes and between individuals. And we follow the principle, the structuring principle, that each, in fact, property or relationship between two nodes shall be exclusively derivated from an high-level property that is itself in the standard, in the top-level ontology, with a top-down approach here. Specialization, in fact, of higher level command property that is bridging or defining the relationship between the superclass with range and domain we are depending at the level where we work. This allows global debottlenecking, and we develop in the paper an interesting perspective on the top of the traditional approach, new development and new project, greenfield, very often worked. And the other approach is to recover the information from the brownfield and to capitalize, in fact, the information portfolio of the company from the experience and the discovery of all the assets that are already instantiated. In the middle, we develop a third approach of referencing corporate data domain business object of reference, and we split the TotalEnergies world at the level of company in 15 key, I would say, pillar data domain. And for each data domain, we've got an owner responsible of the data because we need it, subject matter expert, métier. And for each domain, we onboard progressively and we validate. In fact, we promote, thanks to feedback loop, also on the mechanism of sous le sens vocable we share during the session, the promotion of business objects that are systematically mapped to standard URIs and that are orchestrated because we impose that they will be declared as type, RDF type of higher level standard. This is the part 14 axiom through le sens vocable. It's a snapshot. You've got the range and domain with arrow in green and red. And what you see in gray, it's the high-level property between those nodes. This means that all what we are going to perform following a lower level of activity will refer to those nodes and to sub-properties that are systematically derivated from this sketch. As per the 15 data domain where we split the world and the ambition of TotalEnergies, that is more and more transverse because of the multi-energy we have to manage across domain and across thematics. You have here in the part 14, and we will take this just later, 33 primary high-level conceptual nodes that allow to represent the world. So you can type your information in your class, and you will avoid the trap, and we will see just later, of the polysemy because you are in the right domain. And so you can manage to develop your information system following those primary words because of the ontology, I would say, principle, divide the world in category and suggest we are going to do some classification of terms and labels within those categories. It's an applied category theory in motion. Whatever the individual origin, could be SQL database, very often, BSC, triple store, such index with NLP, etc. We have the same way to structure the SIM from the time being. The green box on the semantic model T-box remain driven by single mechanism across the company. And the promise of part 14 is to extend this at the level of the industry. This serves everything. It's transverse. You push your business object and you promote, you semantize or disambiguize or contextualize them through the semantic, I would say, standard approach. And then you manage the constraints, the requirements, I would say the digitalization of the constraints from the standard themselves that are documented very often in PDF that has been written by human for human. We have to split, in fact, between this work that works very well for decades into a more model-centric, I would say, or model documentation approach. And this is a challenge, serving widely all the actors of the company. They can JSON, they can contribute to the publication and the digitalization of additional standard. You can bridge, in fact, the data with the knowledge and document, and I've got a presentation in the second phase of my presentation. This is the result and a sample because in TotalEnergies, the origin of historical business is mainly geoscience and reservoir, and we have to deal with natural artifact and phenomenon. This is a bit different to manage process, stream, and pumps. And to do this, we carefully, with Claude Fauconnet, manage to graph and to develop some layer of data domain, I would say, ontology, where we map all the information. So here you've got a color file as per a geographical information system a bit. You've got the wellbore that is an object, it's part of the physical object. And we put some relationships that are very often driven by the part 14 properties themselves, or that are specialized, as we will see just after. Thank you very much, and your questions are welcome.
I have some.
Hi, Mike. Yes.
That's fantastic way of producing documentation, but do you have an approach to get the legacy documents remodeled or imported to this kind of approach?
The legacy document, yes, a strong topic in a company such Total is corporate referential. That is under digitalization path from the time being. It started with a methodological approach of contextualization, capitalization, and here we believe that we are the key to provide a robust methodology and to avoid redo. This means that we want to develop something sustainable with succeed the first time. So we start to iterate with corporate reference information to digitalize following this method, in fact, the standard, but also the guidance, the directive, the spec for TotalEnergies. And we are very interested also by the network following CIFOS methodology and recommendation for the observer, because the goal here is not only the success of Total in its digital transformation, it's more massive. We have a responsibility at the level of the supply chain, and it will work only if we obtain a certain of momentum with the internal progressing the same way, the same rate, the same method with the internal. It's very interesting for the internal because we are changing position quite often, so we limit the risk of the internal handover and the lose also of the capitalization of the knowledge when people start to retire. But on the top of this, we need absolutely to take care about the global ecosystem we have to deal with, because TotalEnergies alone can't perform anything.
I would like to add something, if you that when you say documents, you have unstructured document and you have structured data.
Yeah,
And
I'm
so
talking
we
about PDF documents.
Oh, PDF,
and this
yes.
kind
So
of
we did
stuff.
things about standards which were in PDF format. If they are well done, we have heuristics to extract the tables from the PDF and so on. But it's a part of manual work. And we have also colleagues working on the NLP advanced, but NLP driven by the ontology. Yes, which is very interesting because you can extract entities corresponding to the classes of the ontology, but you can also, if you have a property relation between the entities, the classes of the ontology, it can help, and we are experimenting this, help to do some entity linking in the NLP to draw NLP annotated corpus with the ontology. And this could be very helpful and we are trying to link the ontology to NLP results stored in Elasticsearch structure, data structure, for instance.
I have a PhD student that is not from my university, and he's a computer analyst at Petrobras, and he's doing a short stage on University of Oslo at the Sirius Group where I work with. And he used to be the coordinator of my project in this subject. I believe that since he will be in Europe for 1 year more, I believe that he would be very interested in getting in contact with you because he has a lot of this approach of extracting OCR and indexing legacy documents like reports and so on. And they are developing this semantic search inside of Petrobras, which is quite similar to this approach, but I was the coordinator in the university of this project of semantic search, but I think that yours is much better. I can tell you this easily. It's a large project, it's well structured and so on. I think that it would be very interesting if you can be in contact.
Definitely, this is very enthusiastic, and we follow, in fact, the same best-in-class with Sirius, you mentioned, definitely. Part 14, information level framework and guidance, that will be the future reference, I would say, manual to structure and to orchestrate together following the same principle. And the golden shelf endpoint of PCA on the top of this to start to share in advance and to feedback and to complete all together until necessary.
Good. I will send to Claude because I have already his contacts and exchanging mails, and we can follow from this. Okay?
And it's nice to see that is not only, I would say, Norwegian topics, because you are in Brazil, Petrobras, we are in France, Total Energy. We are working both everywhere, and we suffer of the same historical breaks, I would say. And so it's time today to manage a common way to think out of the box, because it's not by performing the same way again and again that the solution will come naturally. So it implies a shift and a change of mindset. And you mentioned maybe something more connotating as a change of wisdom. We need to share wisdom. And this shall, I personally believe that the way to manage the complexity we have to deal with through a non-competitive and collaborative way, it's one of the key of the solution.
Because if it became a standard or you have some tools that is shared, it's good for everybody because you can increase, you put the effort in getting better tools. So everybody can win from this approach. Is better than being competitive.
I think the best durable open source solution have been generally take their origin feed by private farm. Yeah. Thank you.
It's a query. So is it possible to have a demo of the tool?
Yes, in fact, we have half an hour scheduled with another presentation. We will maybe launch now, or you want to?
After the break?
Want a coffee break, or we can?
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm on the floor, so it's okay. Huh? It's easy.
And then we go.
I just have to take the other one. And the sharing, maybe
It's
it's
almost
not
time off.
anymore from
6 a.m.
Maybe I wish I was working here. With them. But sometimes I have my speakers, one, maybe 100 bucks. So used to work.
The general framework is very interesting.
But it's in full music.
Well considered.
Okay, so due to small agenda rescheduling, I will manage both in the meantime. This is presentation requested by Eddie to have an opportunity before the closure of the Onto Commons IOF and FOMI days to summarize a bit with the eye of an industry representative. So this is our Total Energy Semantic Framework perspective from the time being regarding the work we carry on and the challenge we have to face. So in Total Energy, we appoint a new cross-domain entity, OneTech, to serve all the domain of the company, following all the branch and all the multi-energy perspective. I'm working in the department of transverse data strategy, governance, and acculturation, and I'm leading a pole of innovation and standards. So I've got the luck to be part and observer of several standardization bodies from IOGP, AFNOR, French representation, in relay with the technical committee of ISO. I'm observer board of PCA, and I try to follow the development and the perspective of all those named individual, I would say, entities, and to define, in fact, the common challenge and the common development behind their proposal. The origin of this project, Total Energy Semantic Framework, is driven by Sir Tim Berners-Lee, that in fact is at the origin of the web we are dealing with on a day-to-day basis for everything today. It's unbelievable. It's a network. This is important. And in fact, it's based on the fact that to better recover or manage your stuff and things, we can flag them with URI to better follow them. And so it's based on the principle, the linked data standard strategy, that each of the objects must have a URI and the rules of assembling those objects that follows a strict semantic relationship driven by a top-level reference ontology across the company to better share information. From the time being, during the last 20, 30 years, there were vertical backbone behind the document approach, I would say, with knowledge management, search engine, NLP, etc., to provide information. Yes.
On les voit pas.
Oui, oui, pas. Non.
Des fils.
Ouais, mais you can't see the slide presentation.
It's not changing.
Regarde,
No, it's moving.
mais tu as.
But not here.
Ah, ok, je vais vous la repasser.
It's better.
It works, but I
He's
don't know well.
looking, but it's not on.
Let's share it.
Yes. This one.
It's not sharing that.
This one.
This one should work. Yes.
This one or this one? This one? Okay.
You can or you cannot?
I will.
So,
I think it's better.
Smaller.
well, sorry. Yes, technology is often difficult, IT also. So from the time being, we've got a vertical backbone with, I would say, document-oriented methodology, topic, and activity. We've got the data, data management, and data activity. And until the present day and time, only people like you and me, we are some organisms in the part 14. So we are a type, RDF type of person. And here we produce some document historically, and we produce some industry standard, and we produce some data. And only the human were able, with Stabilobos, a color file, to recover the right information in the PNID to be associated to the right PI point from a numerous duplicate of PI point and so on. You did it in a lot of them. So the resultant of the document, I would say, axis, was to define some glossary, dictionary, thesaurus, and Jeans course. We have today an ontology principle and a very nice W3C standard principle, where we can reach equivalent with same as between the concept of the thesaurus and the class. But from the second box, we have additional way to manage the constraints, what we call generally the requirement also, or the constraints from a standard we capture during the digitalization exercise. And so on the top of the class, we structure the information with the property, and we add in this domain, in this world of freedom, some constraints. Without them, everything is possible and feasible. And so we started to work and to transform the document-centric approach to a data-centric approach, finally to a model-centric approach of the document. But what we need is to share knowledge, share practice, share method. We're in a siloed way. Today, we have ambition of federated vision, but we are still escaping. There are again some traps. It's not the end. There's no way to manage the ambition of the data science, the machine learning, the automation, or the IoT, if we are not able to share, in fact, the confidence or recovery the confidence on performance level, it will never work. And we believe that through a methodological approach and standardization of the practice, following and taking the same brief, we will be less at risk regarding this digital transformation, digital transition, whatever, which can't be disruptive too much. So we need to manage the smoothest transition as we can. One of the trap, I'm in the FOMI temple, so you know it better than me. One of the trap is the policy. polysemic trap. I take the sample here of an orange pump, orange. If the machine do not have the context, it will be lost. Because what without context mean orange? It could be a French telecom company in France, it could be fruit. It could be also town in the southeast, it could be a color. And if you Google, if you love the GAFA and you trust they can say the word, in French it's familiar term, but pompe mean also shoes, unfortunately. And this is a pompe orange request from Google, I did. This is a real case. And this is pompe orange also. And good luck for the rest if you don't have proper methodology, or if you believe that giving the key of the truck of the management of the historical information portfolio along the life cycle of your company to a third part is less risky than doing by yourself. So we start to do kitchen, and to kitchen or content of sales of information. And to do the good kitchen in France, we've got the cube, the bouillon cube, is something to prepare the good soup, you know. So it's based on a single strategy with the KUB, the knowledge, the belief, and the understanding. And we have to reduce the belief that produce, in fact, the heritage they offer us, and the big deal we have to realign the things. What is the common methodology, and what is, in fact, the critical challenge of the handover? It's to share the same truth. Sharing the same truth is not only to follow my belief, because I'm the king or I have money. It's because I provide the reason, the proof, and so you can share my belief. And it's not anymore a belief, because you understand and we understand the same thing, and it's based on knowledge. So progressively, we are going to develop and following structuration of commons that imply, of course, the principle of layer that shall be admitted by everyone. And the last layer will be the interoperability layer, the vehicle, the asset administration, shared submodule, etc. But it's the last part. Before that, we have to orchestrate, so to structure the same manner, the information model through the semantic way. We have to share the same language definition. We have to manage the universal tag, the codification, the identification in terms of methodology to share the same meaning, same constraints mean some trustable and verifiable and understandable requirement by all the counterparts and their machines, so it will be checked, controlled, and endorsed or verified almost automatically. This is very nice, but unfortunately, in the table we have to deal with as an input, the content of the cell of the Excel spreadsheet column refer to several different subclasses. Very often, they mix the carrot and the potatoes. You know? And so we have to follow a methodological mechanism to type properly and to reaffect by range. We saw this for the polysemy, but not only, to play the next step. There are some preliminary steps. Because we can't obtain in 2 minutes the knowledge of the company. The element of knowledge, unfortunately, is not a table. It's disseminated in several structured data models, very heterogeneous. And it's element of those data models we have to aggregate all together. Let's keep in mind the structure, the T-box, and the instance. This is the picture, the box. And so we start to break the table. This is a nonsense, because generally when you want to build the table, you cut the tree, and from the tree, you generate the table. This is a good practice. Here we have a reverse global engineering to be performed. It's to recover the information from the cell and to do the loop to reassign it properly at the level of the branches, if we speak about the class, or the leaves, if we have a named individual or element. And so the transition is from A point to B. To be together oriented by the same way. So whatever the past and the orientation, this is a traditional S-curve of maturity, we need to share not only theory, we absolutely need to bridge industry and academics as per today, and thank you very much for organizing this kind of event. But we need to realize together. To realize, it means to open the eyes on the same direction, but to practice following the same gist. And we have to train ourselves. We have to experience through instantiated data. If not, we can have a super duper theoretical approach, but unfortunately, if at the end of the day it's not implementable, we're stuck. That's some elements regarding how it works in the nature, and it's not the strongest species that survive, remain Charles Darwin, nor the most intelligent. And we believe on the collective intelligence to manage collectively our best answer to the change we have to deal with. I will speak to the solution because we need methodology, we need a framework, and we need semantic tools. This is the origin and the main motivation and the work. I work with a super duper team, externally and internally, and essentially with Claude Fauconnet on a day-to-day basis to develop this level of semantic framework solution, the tool part. It's not all, but it's part of the game. And so we take some industry standard, very nice, W3C, it provides the structure, the guarantee, it's auto and self-control, it prevents some deviation, and we develop and build ontology when the standard is not machine ready, in fact, from the PDF. So yes, we digitalize the table, the constraints, the requirement, it's time, but we follow a methodology that is purely sourced by the partner team. And then we develop ontology tool, and so we start to deal with the stakeholder to reach the PLM, the collaboration, the configuration of this, to manage, in fact, some quality that evolve following the activity and regarding the representation of the several disciplines. So we develop the tools by bricks, by modules that are orchestrating and that are shared across the solution. And this is the global sketch, the main challenge. So we manage from, I would say, ontological data domain perspective, all the linking between the reference standards we digitalize and the user, and they love it. That's what we discover. Start to type their element from their type A box to promote, in fact, into this loop, the information. And so we manage this all along the life cycle. So this is the design phase with the color field of the ISO IEC 81346. And progressively, we add some information at the level of the procurement, at the level of the commissioning, and then start up and go. On the top of this, we have very powerful, I would say, graph representation to manage the things. It's a microscope with multi-scale, multi-dimension. You can assess, you can see, you can realize. And so that's the end of this presentation with different category of tool to discover, to enrich, to map, and to work with a single framework environment. So thank you. And I will take 5 minutes to do the demo. So hopefully I will be able to share my screen. Is it working? Not at all. I will have a process. It's a third time. This one.
Yes,
No,
it's
maybe
digital.
it
I send you the IT license.
Okay. So this is the main window of Sous le sens vocable, and there are a lot of there are several tools that are more or less specialized. And today I will have a focus on the most famous and used one. It's Lineage. So in Lineage, you've got a way to discover an ontology. So you can select, I prepare one, I think, landscape standards, okay. And so this layer is my layer. It's editable, and what I'm working, I can share it and promote to some responsible to be endorsed and to be disseminated within the group, within the company. It follows, of course, the part 14. So these are the preliminary nodes of the part 14 with color field regarding the type of superclass. And so, following those 33 primary nodes, you've got some properties, but not so much because you are at the top of the pyramid. So we have to leave the level of freedom to express your diversity at the lower level. So we have the minimum of constraints to give you the opportunity to develop. You've got some restriction mechanism, and so you can start to play following those top level axioms for what you have to deal. So I can go to add nodes. So because I'm in my layer, I can develop a new node. I can load a series of nodes. I can import a table, or I can connect some SQL database, whatever. I can generate a new class. It could be a named individual. So today we are with Eddie Carey. It's a named individual, I think.
Sorry to interrupt
Yeah.
right now. When you do this, you save locally, you save
No,
globally.
you save in a triple store.
You save
triple.
you save in a triple store. That is your editable layer. And here, my layer, it's a TSF standard landscape.
So it's like a
And this
private
one,
window.
it's a private, it's a draft.
You have three kinds of graphs. You have graphs that are your graphs on your external graphs.
Mhm.
You have a private local on the web, but personal superstore.
Version. Uh-huh.
And in these superstores, you have a lot of graphs, and some are not editable, and some are editable.
Okay.
So you can mix them together,
Mhm.
and this is and when you write something, you have to be careful where you write it.
Yes.
So
Here
that's
you
my
are
question.
in your own layer, but you can share your layer by colleagues, draft layer also. You can combine, and you can call for internal already endorsed layer or for third ontology. We'll see this. So here I want to create a named individual. Okay, so AD is in the matrix for the time being. It's interesting because I didn't choose, in fact, superclass for AD. That is a part 14. because previously I've got already created standardization actor, and standardization actor, in fact, is the network of people I'm dealing with. I started this last week, so it's work in progress, and it's the beginning at the level of industry standardization bodies. So it's part of the name individual as per the author. But what he's doing, in fact, in the life, is performing with maybe Onto something. Yes, Onto Commons. It's itself declared yesterday. So Onto Commons, it's also a named individual, it's not a class. And it's of type European Union initiative. So if I click on the parent, I will have the European Union initiative. What is this? In fact, it's a standardization body initiative, and finally, it's part of the superclass domain of the organization of the Part 14. EDI is a person, so it's an organism linked to the superclass of the physical object. You can manage some edges. So the relationship between, for example, EDI and Onto Commons is driven also by what we showed just before. It shall respect the principle of the inheritance and be derivated from an upper level property that is range and domain compliant with the superclass we are dealing with at the level we are working. So this person, EDI carré, is a person can be connected to Onto Commons by what is leading. Okay. Alors, leading off, it's not the property of the Part 14. It's a sub-property I generated. I can refine the property again. Okay, is the boss of super. I select this one because it smells good. And so I can also query all the other boss, the chair of. Oh, interesting. Emile, my colleague from IOGP, ISSC. What is this? ISSC? ISSC, it's an organization, Information Standard Subcommittee. Okay, I know that. It's my knowledge. If I want to share with you, I will add that label. It's information, blah, blah, blah. And what's interesting is that it's already in relationship, and it's already combined also with parents to the Part 14. So it's also an organization. And you can navigate without any restriction or limit. You can call for the additional restriction within this graph to explore additional information, or you can refocus because it's too much noisy. And my interest today, it's an example for ISSC, for parents, and corresponding restriction. So you have the freedom to play, to explore, and to search for terms at the level of the current source, but you can search the prompt in not only the current source, but in all the declared source, not only in what I selected here in my draft, in my layer, but in all the layer of total energy. And so you will have the freedom, thanks to the result of the Elasticsearch, to check what is a centrifugal pump in the CFOS. CFOS is the IOGP JIP 36. It's Capital Facilities Information on Number Specification. So you can have an interest of an equipment or a function. So function pump, okay, you have a lot of pump. You have the function of the pump, and it comes in my graph, but I can, if I have an interest in Quantum, in CFOS, to manage the restriction on this third graph, to perform relationships and call without duplicate, without redundancies, and I can manage the property of the generical pump, and I can have an interest for the, I would say, functional pump, but also for the physical one. And the physical one, it's in fact the contextualization of the pump. So here, I will go to
Sorry, Jean-Charles, to interrupt while you made me a boss. So we are running
Yes,
out of
boss.
time. Very, very interesting. And what I propose is to have a webinar dedicated for this tool because really yesterday we had a demo, and with Dimitris, I mean, this is one of the most powerful tool on ontology editing, and especially for visualization. For the end user, it's very easy to use that. So we are convinced that this is very interesting for Onto Commons. So as soon as possible, we'll share with you a doodle to plan a webinar to have a full demo on the tool with all functionalities, because really we believe that this is what we need in the community.
I just
We-
would like to add something, is that we developed that. There is a lot of tentatives to nice things. They should be discussed, and maybe we trying to find also a community, but for the functionality, we would like to make something shared with
Yeah.
people.
That's perfect.
That's pertinent functionality, but also there is also
Yeah.
the question of developing the code.
That's perfect. So it's time for the break. So we have
What's the language that is
It is Node.js, Node.js and JavaScript.
Hello all, so
JavaScript?
we are supposed to
Okay.
have coffee break now, but then we have the next session, I mean, they are already started, so there are two sessions. One is on the fair profile, and it will be organized by Jan and Barbara. And the session already started at the room E2 on the next building. On the way, you can grab some coffee. However, in this room, we are going to continue the session for OCES. And then for this session, we have a speaker who is leaving within 10 minutes. Okay, so we are not going to give him much time. I mean, so we will ask him to present a little bit.
We've developed a lot of functionalities, so in 10 minutes, it's
But we want to see this close.
So 10-minute break.
We have some
Okay, okay, all right, but then please be sure that you come back in this room within 10 minutes, please.
Another point is who is going to pick DVD? Just right there. Okay, so another question. People going to DVD should be told there. Did you plan jackets? Yeah. 55 degrees. Yeah. So what you can do is to, let's say you have lunch quickly and back to the hotel to bring your jackets. Yeah. Perfect. So we're back in 10 minutes, please. So you can go to the coffee break room and then we can start this in 10 minutes. Come back. Yes, here. airport is 10 minutes from here, so we will drive you. It's okay?
Yeah, I'll put it. Because you are coming or like just stay here or it will just. You might think that I want to. Yeah, okay, okay, we already booked the cab, so we already booked the cab, it will be here, you just present like 10 minutes, I already told you.
Is it the same?
Probably the only part of presentation not gonna be optimal for
Can I talk to you? Do you have number?
all the number.
I totally agree with you.
That's how we manage the validation of identity. Low voltage motor,
Actually, I understand, but I don't
when
know.
we start to share the value,
For example,
the other
Yes, you are on
Yeah.
it's following the share
Yes, definitely. Then I can. Okay. I will check, but I'm not very. Did it start inside of
So,
the tower?
just
You-
get me
you
small and
started
then
with-
I mean, we go
within the cars for
Okay, right.
January 2021. It's
Wow.
very young.
It's also very young.
It's very young. But we did it for Clone and we need you. We
No,
can't continue like that.
because you know, we
It's
have,
too much
we
stuff.
have
It's too
programmer
much
guys that
responsibility.
can develop. a
Yes,
new
alors we
things which
discussed
helps
with
a
Zari
lot.
Lisa. We have to develop
Mi hanno chiesto di presentare
semantic tool network of community.
No, no,
We
hanno
need
detto,
to
hanno
bring
già detto di
Fabio,
voler
this guy that is
già, cioè, portarci noi, arrivare
is
prima.
Fabio
Dall'anno
Cordeiro.
passato sono stato.
Fabian, yeah, he's an analyst, is in
You want a
the,
coffee?
I think that we should take this thing.
È possibile chiedere di
Ah,
ovviamente non riesco a presentare come vuole ovviamente. A questo punto pensavo di fare una presentazione lettura su prime diapositive arrivando fino all'introduzione dei template in modo da darle appunto da
what's interesting is that Claude was a synthesis geologist.
Next le dico subito il numero. Sì, Bridge Concept Template. Bridge Concept Template.
We need a coffee, yes.
Non so se riesco ad arrivare lì dati i tempi, però farò il
That in the
possibile
last
appunto
day I am getting
seguendo
old.
piani
I
lettura.
started to
The worst one.
reflect.
When do you travel back?
Indeed, I am going to Toulouse, it's making Toulouse, and tomorrow morning I will fly back.
Sì, spero. Nel caso mi faccio ospitare da Arco. Mhm. Certamente. Mhm. La ringrazio, mi dispiace. Okay. It's okay.
I'm planning my escape. I only know opens there.
No, I just came to see, I need to probably answer the phone, so that's why I came earlier. And I know your excuse. But coffee is there, sweets are there, so same thing.
Like they are, the data you want to accept. So you have like lots of data. The question is, you don't want to load all the data as possible, and you have more than this. And potentially, you have unnecessary data, so you need to have the outcome of data analysis, metadata, or basic research. So I guess that there are multiple steps. First, find important data that go to the graph database, then extract everything from the cache, and that's really the process. So then it has to be kind of how you can do this with bring all the new data out in the graph in an efficient way. We pre-process everything again all the time. So how can we like all this kind are you going to process everything again and again?
I know what you mean. I was just not sure how much time I had to explain everything. Also because the community at least is not my expectation. I'm not sure that
user base even though index and then push directly out.
Yeah.
Okay,
I will send you the presentation if you want, but also with the.
Yes, what it is, because I have the feeling they don't confuse children. That's is a kind of way of bringing out a lot of certainty. Also, ways to an interpretation based on with rules and so on.
This is actually more, I mean, the system is actually more, because if you are and somebody comes to you, I have this industrial problem. This surface is not smooth enough. I want to make it smooth. I don't know what I'm trying to, and I don't know how to run lots of experiments. Exactly. And that's for me as a translator, which I have lots of knowledge. I know how to research.
You are an expert.
Yeah, so this translation is actually highly qualified. This expert, that if I
Yeah, things are going crazy, but we talk our team and then we exit that. Yeah, that was, now, yeah, I mean, that was like a little bit myself, no problem, yes, so I think it is. So we translate, yeah.
Bring me
Yeah.
you can do
So you're going to lose your flight.
Yeah, losing flag for. Losing flag for performance.
That's commitment.
You can do it by visual. When you are leaving, to do it visually.
That would be
Really nice. You come, but you leave just before your presentation.
really nice, dynamic presentation. I'm going away. I still presenting.
Are you logged in this? Are you going to
No, it's
present
good.
on here?
Yeah, Professor Gedini will take a look. So if you can give him the
Hello, everybody. Sorry, we need to start in a jiffy, and so this is a session on OntoCommons ecosystem. Though the work in the OntoCommons ecosystem is ongoing, but we will try to present some of the early view of the ecosystem and the tools and the templates we are working on. This session will be presented by Francesco Zaccarini, Emanuele Ghedini, who has already joined remotely from Bologna, and also I will try to assist them. So I will let Francesco start.
And thank you for cutting your break short and be here. It's a real pleasure. I'm Francesco Antonio Zaccarini from the University of Bologna. Today I'm in charge of presenting Onto Commons. Well, today I'm in charge of presenting Onto Commons bridge concept in the context of the OSIS methodology. My talk is mostly focused on methodological aspects and the principles. Oh, sorry. Is it working now?
Yes.
Perfect. My talk will mostly focus on methodological aspects and the principles underlying bridge concept engineering. In the course of the presentation, I will showcase some of the bridge concepts we made and go over the practical steps in the creation and documentation. Before moving to the main topic, I'd like to go over the general framework. Afterwards, I'll open up